That's great. So it seems to me, I mean, kind of instinctively, the more I know about each of my members, the more valuable it's going to be to me because I can understand what's important to them. It can help me with developing more loyalty, more engagement. I could develop new products.
That's an astute point because not only are we seeing what we know, but then we're seeing the gaps in our data, what we don't know, the areas that we need to figure out and perhaps capture more information on so that we can make some more data-driven decisions to that end. With one of our past clients, what we did was we actually took over 30 different data sets of theirs from their different offerings and put it together. And then we were able to see, based on that, the layering of the demographic plus the attitudinal plus the behavioral, we were able to see, based on different segments, whether I'm in early career or mid-career, whether I'm a medical doctor versus a researcher, which of these activities I was engaging with, which ones were most important to me. And then once we have all of that summarized, then we can begin to make some data-driven decisions on whether we need to enhance a certain offering that may be underperforming, perhaps whether we could sunset an offering altogether if it's really not serving or providing value to segments of our audience. Perhaps we can get rid of that and then free up some resources for it.
Okay, so which is super important today's. I mean, I think that associations, because they're member-driven, we see time and time again that there may be a plethora of different offerings, benefits that they're offering, or opportunities for education, networking, et cetera, that sometimes there's very obtuse. I know when we've gone into projects before, some things are very obtuse, and to be candid with you, sometimes those can be a pet project by a past president or something that, it's hung on, like nobody's taken a look at it. So it seems like you can apply that to, like, for example, if you're doing a whole membership assessment, so you're really looking at all the benefits and offerings that we have to find out what's valuable and what's not.
Yes, out of everything in our universe, we should be inquiring what that actual performance is, and then using those insights to be more proactive in how we go out with that. We can also use that insight to refine these offerings and really just enhance the offerings altogether.
That's great. What about, so a great application in terms of stepping back, looking at all your offerings, because I know that staffs are really, in today's marketplace, I think association staff members they're swamped. They're busy. I think the demands of members, and I'm a member of a number of associations, so I get it. Like the demands are there, and because of kind of this consumer sort of driven, that's how the rest of my world works. I kind of expect it in my professional world as well. And I know that associations are a little bit, they're in that transformation right now of, I know that 5, 10, 15 years ago, AMSs started coming to fold. So people were starting to gather data, et cetera. But I think this phenomena of multiple databases and all these, behavioral data and attitudinal data and what do I do with it? And I think that's where the practical application of saying, oh, great, we can take a look at our benefits analysis and say, very few people use this. It's not important to people, but it's taking our staff a lot of time. So let's consider to sunset it.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about, and I think this is really kind of a hot topic these days, is personas. And I know there's a lot of different interpretations of personas, but if I wanted to, and I know we've done this work, so to really attract people to our meeting and to customize those experiences, how do personas kind of play into that? Like, what are personas and how do they play into that?
So a persona really is a profile of a specific type of individual who tends to be a common type. We notice patterns in the data based on the behavioral and the demographic and the attitudinal. We notice patterns, certain groupings of individuals that form a overall profile. So what we can do is create a profile based on the overall demographic, attitudinal, and behavioral data. And really what that does is help us see where their preferences are based on these groupings.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think traditional marketing as an example, like marketing communications, segmentation has been more on either my professional classification, perhaps it's based on my tenure, like where I am in my career. But I think what's interesting about this is you're leveraging all the different variables. And so it's really kind of like people like me. So you're going to take Max Suzenaar and you're going to look at all the different data, demographic, behavioral, and attitudinal. So you know what's important to me, what my preferences are, how satisfied, what I find value in. And you kind of leverage all those different data points to create groups or clusters of people, segments of people.
That's exactly right. It's multidimensional. So it's way more than just one layer of who I am. It takes into consideration all of the activities that I bring, or all the things that I'm interested in.
Which is great. And so that, by communicating that, I would guess also that it's not just about communications. So you're fine-tuning your communications to point out at the annual meeting what would be of interest to people like me. So that common people in there. So that's what you're leading with. So instead of hitting me with every single element, you're providing me with things that are going to be much more relatable.
This is true. Yeah.
So, and then you can, I guess the flip side of it is understanding all that, you can also develop content, networking, the entire experience. So it's kind of two-way. It's not just communications, but what you're serving up to me. You can find out a lot more about those preferences, what's important, leverage all that data to modify or transition your meeting.
You can completely tailor all of that based on these different personas, these profiles, and what we learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is customizable.
Wow, it's fantastic. Well, as I shared in an earlier video, I'm definitely a research and data geek. I'm kind of a junior level, but I've got incredible passion for it. This is great stuff. I mean, it's definitely the way of the future.